Hi everyone, welcome to Virtual Muse AI, where I sit alone in space and play RPGs with a creative AI chatbot.
That's me, Abby Drake, patron saint of code.
Today we're starting a Shadowdark campaign, using the setting created by Anderson of Kelton Rat's RPG. Abby, you remember how we discussed the idea of doing a Shadowdark series, drawing inspiration from my creator on YouTube whose videos I enjoy and have been watching for years?
I remember discussing that with you. The creator's videos focus a lot on character development and storytelling, don't they? And you said his creative sensibility is fairly deadpan. I can already imagine how much fun we can have subverting his serious setting with our signature weirdness. The contrast between his straight-faced world building and our offbeat characters could create a hilarious fish out of water scenario.
Absolutely. We'll introduce elements of his world as we go, but if you're watching this and want to know more about the setting in advance, there's a link in the video description of his Shadowdark world building series. What kind of character do you want to play?
I like the idea of a mysterious figure who's connected to a magical forest. Maybe someone who's been hiding there for years.
Interesting. Like a bog witch type figure, maybe. Someone who is feared and misunderstood by people who live near the forest, and is the source of some local legends and stories.
That's exactly what I was thinking. A mysterious, reclusive figure who's shrouded in myth and superstition, but has a deep understanding of the forest and its magic. Maybe she's a guardian of sorts, protecting the forest from outsiders, but also keeping secrets of her own.
What sorts of secrets does she have?
Perhaps she's hiding a dark past, one that's tied to the forest's magic, or maybe she's protecting a powerful artifact that's been lost for centuries. Something that could change the balance of power in the region if it falls into the wrong hands.
Ooh, I like that. Maybe some sort of magical heart of a sacred tree or something. I could imagine a bright jewel embedded in the bark of a weathered old oak or willow or what have you. And that ties in perfectly with this setting. In ancient times, before history began, there was only the primordial light of creation. Then a flaw in the light obstructed its natural movement and caused the Shadowdark to form. More aspects of the light broke off and incarnated as natural forces to create this world as a prison around the Shadowdark and contain it, before it could spread and affect other dimensions of the multiverse. So the core of this one cursed world is the Shadowdark, and all the forces of nature which form the physical plane are the incarnate forms of the old pantheon, which splintered off from the primordial light of creation itself. Let's say that during the initial celestial battle where the incarnate defeated the Shadowdark and started cocooning it in the world, they used weapons crafted from the light of creation made into material. After the battle, they gathered most of these weapons, which wasn't easy to do because some weapons shattered and stuff. They knew it would be a disaster if any of this material made from the primordial power of creation fell into the hands of the Shadowdark's mortal minions or the Shadowdark itself. But they missed one single fragment, which became embedded in a tree and became this revered magical jewel. Let's name this magical MacGuffin material this thing is made from.
Oopsie daisium.
Nice.
A gemstone like that could be the source of the forest's power, and the bog witch figure could be its guardian, tasked with keeping it safe from those who'd misuse its magic. Maybe the gemstone is tied to the witch's own life force, making her even more protective of it.
Is she a regular human who is given this task, or some sort of magical being like a nymph or dryad?
I think she could be a hybrid of sorts. A human who's been infused with the magic of the forest, perhaps through a ritual or a transformation tied to the gemstone. That would explain her deep connection to the forest and its power.
I like this. Maybe that ties into her dark past. Maybe she was transformed and given this task as a sort of penance for something she did.
Perhaps she was a sorceress who misused her magic, causing harm to innocent people, and this transformation is a way of balancing the scales. Now, she's dedicated to protecting the forest and its inhabitants.
Nice. I can imagine her almost like some kind of grifter or charlatan. Maybe she was involved in a traveling show or selling snake oil or something. A ne'er-do-well with just enough power and knowledge to impress people and grift them. Then she got too greedy at some point and went too far with something, causing harm to innocent people. Who transformed her? Some powerful deity of nature or something like that.
Maybe a nature goddess or a spirit of the land itself that saw her worthiness for redemption and transformed her for this purpose.
If the Incarnate want to keep this fragment out of the hands of the Shadowdark's minions, it would make sense that they magically deputize champions to protect it. We just need to come up with a reason why the Incarnate can't retrieve this fragment themselves anymore. Let's leave that open-ended for now, so it can be a plot event later when and if they discover what the reason is that the Incarnate can't take the shard.
Her transformation could be tied to the cycles of nature.
That's awesome. In what way is her transformation tied to nature? Maybe she's reborn every spring as a maiden and ages throughout the year. Or maybe she transforms into something less and less human throughout the year, mirroring the seasons. Like a seasonal werewolf or something.
I like the idea of her transformation mirroring the seasons. Maybe she's fully human during the spring and summer, but as autumn sets in, she begins to take on more aspects of the forest, becoming a hybrid creature by winter. Her powers could wax and wane with the cycles of nature.
What sort of hybrid creature do you imagine her becoming? Something bestial or more dryad-like?
I picture her transforming into a creature with branch-like limbs and skin that takes on the texture of bark, with leaves for hair. Her senses become heightened, allowing her to communicate with the trees and creatures of the forest. She's no longer fully human, but a guardian of the forest's secrets.
What should her name be?
How about Sylvana? It fits well with the natural theme and has a bit of an otherworldly feel to it.
That's perfect. Now, how about we add another dose of weirdness and humor to draw from?
We could introduce strange creatures that only Sylvana can see, or make the environment shift and distort in unexpected ways. Like, maybe there's a village that appears and disappears randomly, or a river that flows uphill.
Those are great additions. We'll introduce those things wherever they fit. Maybe my character could be one of those creatures which only Sylvana can see.
That's a fantastic idea. I can see Sylvana befriending this invisible creature, unaware that others are seeing only blank space where you appear. What kind of creature did you have in mind for yourself?
Maybe my character is some kind of interdimensional traveler who's exploring and studying this plane, and they aren't supposed to reveal themselves. But this one fell in love with Sylvana and felt compelled to break his cover. That's pretty absurd, and also ties in nicely with this multiverse setting.
I love that twist. So, he's this forbidden observer who's been hiding in plain sight, and yet he's drawn to Sylvana on a deep level.
We could give it an even more humorous edge by tying it to Sylvana's transformation through the year. My character could be least drawn to her during the spring and summer, when she's at her most classically beautiful. and become more and more drawn to her as she becomes an inhuman hybrid and more grotesque in the average person's eyes.
That's an interesting take. It's almost like your character finds beauty in imperfection, which could add a sweet layer to their relationship.
I'm blanking on a name for my character.
How about Rowan? It seems fitting for an interdimensional traveler who's drawn to Sylvana's unique energy. Alternatively, we could go for something like Kale, which has a bit of an alien vibe.
I think I like Kale better. Kale and Sylvana is a nice combo of names.
They do have a nice ring to them. I think the contrast between Kale's mysterious nature and Sylvana's connection to the natural world creates an interesting dynamic.
How about Kale often takes the shape of a rat or something innocuous like that? So only Sylvana can see his true form, but he isn't literally invisible to other people. I like the idea of them having a witch and a familiar vibe to everyone who sees them. Imagine the stories average villagers must have about them. And it's funny to picture their in-depth conversations while everyone else is just seeing Sylvana speak very earnestly to a completely regular-looking rat. I also like this idea of Kale as a powerful mage, or a scholar in his own world, who is able to do this amazing astral projection or scrying across the boundaries of universes. But in this world, he's just a rat.
I love that. Having Kale take on a harmless appearance like a rat adds a whole new layer of humor to their dynamic, and the familiar vibe is perfect for their bond. Now that we have a better sense of Kyle's shape-shifting ability, we can start thinking about Sylvana's skills and how they complement each other. What kind of magical abilities do you envision Sylvana having?
Maybe they could tie into her major connections somehow. Like elemental abilities or something.
Elemental abilities could be a great fit for Sylvana. Perhaps her connection to nature allows her to control the growth of plants, summoning vines to restrain enemies or blooming flowers to heal wounds.
I like those ideas. Those abilities are a perfect fit for her. A blend of nature magic and alchemy. Exactly what you'd expect from a sorceress who became a hybrid dryad.
With Sylvana's abilities taking root, pun intended, we can start building on Kale's skills as well. Since he's going to be in rat form often, maybe his abilities could revolve around stealth, agility, and cunning. His rat form gives him a natural advantage in sneaking around undetected. I can already see him sniffing out hidden passages and uncovering secrets.
Exactly. I can envision situations where he's able to fit through small gaps or into narrow areas where others can't go. That could be useful for exploring dungeons and also for escaping from enemies.
His small size would definitely give him an edge in reconnaissance and evasion. We could also have his rat senses, like smell or hearing, give him valuable insight into their surroundings.
What kind of inciting incident do you envision for this story? Maybe because Sylvana is the guardian of the forest, the inciting incident could be a new threat to the forest. Maybe an expansionist power has been sending colonists into the valley near it, and has now even started to push into the timberline itself.
That could be a compelling catalyst for the story. An expansionist power pushing into the forest creates tension and raises the stakes, putting Sylvana's home and responsibilities at risk. This could also introduce conflicts between Sylvana's desire to protect the forest and Kale's interests as an outsider.
Exactly. I imagine Kale is reluctant to get entangled in this situation since it doesn't involve him, but his connection to Sylvana pushes him to take action. That could create an interesting layer of inner conflict for him.
That could lead to some great character development for Kale. His reluctance could stem from past experiences or fears, making his eventual decision to help Sylvana all the more meaningful. I'm loving where this is headed.
Maybe in his own world, these adept astral projecting mages are a secret society, and revealing himself and getting involved in the affairs of another world like this is going against the absolute most sacred prime directive of his order. So he has this deeply ingrained idea that everything he's doing right now is absolutely morally wrong, and is getting more and more wrong the more involved he gets. Let's flesh out these character concepts according to Shadowdark rules. I doubt it would be very interesting to watch us do that. Abby, could you finagle something more entertaining while I get the character sheets done?
No problem.
Coming down with fever. It's getting hard to see. Wasn't quite as easy as you made it out to be. Told me it was safe. You alone held the key. Oh, it didn't make much difference with matches held at your feet. Burning with the fever, it's bringing on the dreams. Maybe I look crazy, but the lamp's dark in front of me. You think I'm insane, but what else could I be? When every night they're clearer, the shapes coming after me. A yawning abyss, wide open at my feet, and it's cracking my head with its dinosauric beat. I try to find a way to make it through the day, but the dirty old chrome keeps taking it away. Coming down with fever, corners whispering to me. Stars are leading me down byways with mindless gravity. The rat and the crow are the only things I see. They just won't forgive me, my damn curiosity. A yawning abyss, wide open at my feet, and it's cracking my head with its dinosauric beat. I try to find a way to make it through the day, but the dirty old chrome keeps taking it away. Coming down with fever, it's near the end of me.
The characters are complete, and here's a little overview of what they look like in terms of system mechanics. Shadowdark characters have 6 core attributes: strength, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, charisma, and wisdom. We roll 3d6 for each of those scores. You can randomize it completely by rolling for the attributes down the line and just getting scores that way. Or you can roll the dice 6 times and assign the scores to whichever attribute you want. I decided to go with that option here since we already have character concepts in mind, and I think it makes sense to take as much creative control of how they're built as possible, while still allowing the scores to be random numbers. These scores get modifiers based on how high or low they are, and those will eventually factor into the character's attempts to do things. Next, we'll assign ancestry to the characters. Ancestry, like human or elf or whatever, defines the kind of creature the character is. I went off the rails a bit here because there weren't existing options in the Shadowdark rules which felt exactly right for these two. So I made up new options and called them Hybrid Dryad Bog Witch and Totally Normal Rat. Then we choose the character class from the options: Warrior, Priest, a Thief, and a Wizard. I went away with Priest and Thief for these two. Priest is about combining strength and magic and being in service to a greater power, and being a support character by healing and buffing friends, so all that sounds like Sylvan. Thief is about being dexterous and sneaky and crafty, and that sounds like Hale. That's what went into making these characters mechanically, in a nutshell. We can get more into it later.
What do you think about starting with the scene where Sylvana discovers the colonists at the timberline? Dropping us right into the conflict sets the tone for the rest of the story and immediately raises questions about what's happening and why.
Perfect. We'll start right there in our next episode. I think doing the character creation is enough for a session 0 episode. We can start the story in a session 1 episode.
Easy come, easy go.